Hi there, my name is Patrick Zhu. I am a collective member here at Grow Incubator, and I am going to do a short screen printing demo for you guys today. I just first wanted to show you some of the work that I do. I've been making these patches because I'm really into DIY fashion, I guess you could call it. Some of the themes I've been playing with have been political activism. I still have these NLG patches from the National Lawyers Guild. They're a super radical lawyers guild, the oldest lawyers guild in America. And part of their preamble says, human rights shall be held more sacred than property interests. They are incredible activists, doing a lot of good in the world. This is the first two-color print I did. As you'll notice, the rest of these are all one-color prints. This one is a YPJ badge, excuse me. And the YPJ is the women's militia in the Kurdish Autonomous Zone in northern Syria. So they're freedom fighters, have been struggling for millennia really against like all sorts of different oppressors all in their area. And they're kind of like doing an experiment of creating a stateless society, which means no centralized military that can go around oppressing people. Let's see. And then I made this for some of my other homeschoolers. I was trying to get the little kids into sewing. So I did this little space alien with a sewing needle. And this, I think, was like my first screen printing project. I started just last September. So it hasn't been that long, but I really love it. And screen printing is a pretty awesome, powerful medium to be working in, since you can make really punchy images and it's not that complicated. So this one was a little cactus that's sleeping. Pray for rain. Yep. Those are my patches. And next we'll get into some printing. So this is the screen I made for that patch you saw earlier, the NLG patch. So there's the image on the screen. Basically the way that this screen is made, it's a nylon mesh. I don't know if you can get close enough, but look, it's like this mesh that's really tight and fine, and air and like liquid and everything can like pass through the mesh. And then you coat it in this green stuff. The green stuff is called photoemulsion. It's a special polymer that's actually like a variation on white glue, like, you know, Elmer's glue. That's what this stuff is made out of. And then it has this photosensitive thing that causes the polymer to cross-link and then basically become like a plastic that's on the surface that won't wash out. And when you expose it to light, it hardens into that plastic. So once you've coated your screen with the photosensitive photoemulsion, you keep it in a dark room and then you put a transparency over it. See, this is just transparent plastic with black ink printed on it. You put that on top of your photosensitive screen, and then you expose the whole surface to UV light. And my light setup in there is a halogen lamp that produces a lot of like really intense UV light. You could also just put it outside under the sun, but that's less controlled, and I like to be able to time exactly how long I'm going to expose it for. So I put this whole setup underneath the halogen lamp, and it hardens all the stuff that all the transparent parts that the light can pass through. And the parts that are blocked with the black ink do not get exposed to UV light, which means that those parts of the screen stay water soluble. Like if you ever had Elmer's glue on your hand, you're able to like wash it off if you go to the sink and wash it off. So that stuff stays water soluble. Then you take the whole thing and you rinse it underwater until your image comes through. So this is covered in hard plastic, and then these holes here in the shape of my logo, that's all open mesh where ink can pass through. Okay, we're gonna go print this, see what it looks like. Yeah, so right now I'm just trying to align it with my registration marks. I printed this a few days ago, and I like to put tape around the spot where I'm going to print so that I know where I need to put my fabric. Like, you don't want to half print your image, right? Like, see, the NLG logo is kind of soaked through onto the platen. That's what this is called. So you wouldn't want to half print your image. I have the blue tape there to know that, oh, if I cover the center of the blue tape, then I'll definitely catch all of my image on the cloth. Okay, next step is ink. It's all lined up. You're having trouble getting the ink to pass through the letters because the letters are really skinny lines. And I was able to make it work better just by adding water to the ink and making it thinner. Put on paper. Proofing is when you test an image before you print it on your actual thing that you're printing on. For example, like if you're printing a bunch of t-shirts, you wouldn't want to put your test images on the nice t-shirts that you bought. So that'd be a waste of a t-shirt if you messed it up. This is just some scrap paper we have, some old event poster. Put that down underneath. Add some water to it. Chopped in. So here we have our squeegee and our ink on the screen. The ink comes in little tubs like this. I buy the Speedball brand with the little shirt logo on it so that I know it's for fabric. They also sell ink for paper printing, but I don't do very much of that. So yes, I've got my ink on the screen. I've got my squeegee here. This is a pretty short one because we're printing a pretty small image. And first thing you want to do is flood your screen. So that's lifting it up off the surface and just pushing the ink through the holes in the mesh. So I just flooded it once. I'm going to park my squeegee and put it back down. This will be our print stroke. Now that we've flooded it, we're going to print our image onto the substrate, which right now happens to be an old poster. Just an old scrap piece of paper. And we'll take a look. What does it look like? Ooh, very bleedy. Which is an example of why we should always proof our images before we print on our nice stuff. Fold that over. So the reason it's wet is because I added a lot of water just now, and some of it came through to the back side of the screen. Just gonna dry that up. I'll try again. So flood stroke, I didn't lift up that time, I should have, but I forgot. Print stroke. There you go, that's looking sharper. It's a little hard to see on the surface because there's another image there, but all of our little letters are coming through. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to go on to printing onto my little black squares of fabric. Oh, I forgot to say a thing. So after you print, immediately you want to flood every single time. By forcing ink through those mesh holes, you prevent the ink from drying in the screen, which will cause you to lose resolution. Like if I let ink dry in the screen, you know, those little letters would start to not show up on in each of my prints. Okay, so I just flooded it. This is the print stroke. Lift up, flood it again. You want to keep your squeegee at about a 70-degree angle. I wouldn't even really go as low as 45. A lot of the times when people go low like this, they end up dragging their squeegee like all the way through the ink, and then it gets everywhere, it gets on their hands, start touching their clothes or their face, just ink gets everywhere. It's gross. There we have it, our completed patch. NLG represent!